This conference will now
This
be
conference
recorded.
will now be recorded. Right. So we discussed about the reports and all, like burn down charts, burn up charts, burn down charts, like velocity, all that. So we have discussed so far. And today I'm going to discuss about the administrative roles, like because of course, as I stated earlier, being a Scrum Master, we don't involve in administrative activities because administrative activities majorly lies on company managed projects. Because as far as the team managed projects, the responsibility will be very small in percentage because the team size is very small. So wherein team members will look after everything. But whereas when it comes to the company managed these things, we require an expert Jira administrators who will be taking care of all that. Now our project is hospital management, right? Our project is hospital management system. Right. So here you have an option where I told you like project settings here. So in this project settings, there are different changes to be made. Can be made from the team end. Usually, this will be looking after by the administrators, all that. So wherein changes can be done for different reasons. So the first is about board. If you want to make any kind of changes on the existing Jira board, what we have, wherein if you want to add some any sort of columns, or if you want to add some any sort of custom filters to the existing Jira board, what we have prepared so far and all, everything can be done. So this is completely depends on the customization of the requirements, what we normally requires, because this is again varying from one to another. It will not remains the same for everyone because customization of filters and all, everything will be varying from one another. It will not be remain same for everyone. Next, followed by this card cover images. Card cover images are not that much needed, so hence I'm not going more in detail. At the same time, here you have an option called access. Now, access is what generally being an administrator I have taken. If I want to add an access to the people and all, where we have an option where we can add people as well. Means apart from the administrator role, what am I playing? If I want someone to, if I want to provide so for someone to provide this administrative activities where we have a provision where we can provide that as also. So this is for the parallel upgradation, for parallel running of the project. If someone is not available at one level, where another person can be taken care of, because administrative activities will not be provided for everyone, because there are a lot of permissions either in terms of the acceptance or declining and all, everything will be taken place. Hence we have to be very clear in terms of the access of the administrator activities, all that. So completely depends on the team acceptance, what all the team is accepted. So based on that, this access and all, everything can be given. So for that, again, what we have to do is we have to add people into this. This is all comes under the access part of the access means administrative activities I'm talking about. Either it may be, right? Because here, whatever the role am I playing here is an administrator. Okay. Maybe this role we may be given to the member or someone, that is absolutely of the team's decision as well as the choice of the teams. Followed by this, yes, we can add out the issue types and all. There are different issues we have. For example, we want to make any sort of changes on the epics, right? For example, epics are there. In epics, you'll be having a story. In story, you'll be having a task followed by subtask. This is how generally the process will happen. Now, if you can see here, the first we call it as epic. Epic nothing but whatever the high level feature we call it is called as an epic. If you want to make any kind of customization to be made in reference to the existing issue types and all that, so that can be done. Either it is in terms of drop down box. For example, we want to put some drop down box here, right? Drop down box for different reasons, all that. Or else, for example, if you want to put some checkbox, right? Checkbox so that whatever is required, so that will be checking on it on that. Now, at the same time, for example, if you want to mention the date, right? So, for example, if you want to mention the date kind of stuff. So, like that, generally, what are the changes to be made onto the existing ones? Either it may be an epic or it may be a bugs. Because again, bugs, if you want to do, normally bugs, for bugs and all everything, you need to have a permission of the testing team. Because testing team will give you the permissions regarding the bugs, all that. Because whereas epics and all everything we can take care of, but in reference to the bugs and all everything, that will be looking after by the testing team, and they'll be taking care of all that. Followed by bugs, there is the next is we call it a story. Story nothing but what are the user stories do we have? What are the stories we have taken in reference to the epics? Followed by in story, whenever we are customizing and whenever we are minimizing those stories, we call it as task. If followed by task, we'll be having subtasks. All these will be there. So these are the different subtypes, where it's issue types wherein we can see. So whatever the changes you want to make, so those changes and all everything can be made according to the requirement of the team, what they are taking all that, right? So either this may be relating to the story or it may be relating to the bugs and all. But normally these stories changes or task changes won't happen in mid of the sprint, as I mentioned earlier, but it is purely depends upon the decision what team has taken, whatever the decisions and all everything will be followed by. Of course, I am not doing any changes here, hence I have texted on the discard part. Even for bugs and all everything will also be on the same, right? If you're taking bugs and all, if you want to add anything based upon the fields what we want to create and all everything can be done. Even for a story, because when there is any change, for example, product owner wants to change the user story. There was an existing user story which product owner want to add some new user stories, or they want to replace the old one with the new one. How come they do? That is with the consent of team members, they have to do it. If they want to do, again we have to go for project settings. Again, I'm repeating, if it's a company based, team based project, team members will look after that, but it is relating only for small projects. But whereas when it comes to the real environment, when we are working for large scale groups and all, it's called as company managed projects. So whatever the changes in reference to the issue types, either it is for stories or it is for epics and all everything, that will be looking after by the administrator and all. But decision has to be taken, and decision must be provided from the Scrum Master or from the Scrum team members for sure. So based on the assurance what they have given, what are the changes to be made and all everything will be taking into an account followed by this. Otherwise, we don't do any sort of changes here. So that is again varies. Like last time, if you remember, last time I've told you there is one sprint which was there is one user story which is left over. What we can do, we can simply convert into product backlog where product backlog refinement can be taken place. From there, we can create a second sprint and we can put there itself. So that can be done. So these are the different issues where this in this project settings issues can be used for. At the same time, if you want to add any kind of issue type, apart from the epics, bug stories, tasks, subtasks, and all, if any issue you want to add some new issues and all everything from the point of what we call from the point of team and all everything, if they want to add any kind of issues and all, they have a provision where they can add the issues and all everything into the existing ones. This is what generally we call it as project settings is all about. Means sorry, issue types is all about. After that, automation. Automation means here, if you want to automation some process, right? If you want to automate some process, or if you want to, so if you want to set some rules for the application. For example, project. Right? For example, let us take a project. So assume that you can see here we don't have any rule, right? We don't have any rule for the project because when you are, for example, if there are user stories, right? If there are user stories on the particular sprint, normally the rule we can create here is that once the user stories is completed, what we can do, we can close the sprint, right? So manual operations are not possible and manual operations cannot be done. So whenever we are working on Jira software, there are automation process means you are creating a rule and you are saving it. So when there is an activity which was completed, automatically that sprint will be considered as completed and it will be closed automatically. but make sure you need to give all the project rules and all everything here, right? So for example, the project rules I am talking about. For example, project rules. Yeah, sprint started, for example. Okay, sprint started, for example. Now, ours is hospital management system, HMS code, right? Sprint started in HMS code, where we are seeing. Now, we are adding a condition here. What was the condition here? Attachments, right? For example, right? Issue attachments. Issue attachments exist. If there is any issue attachments can be added. Now, we are going back again. Right? So issue attachments can be done here in the project rule. Now again you want to create another rule where for example approval, right? For example approval completed. We want to see it because this is normally for Java service management, for Java service management people, of course. No, we don't want this. In reference to the Scrum related thing, sprint completed. Okay. Sprint completed, for example, HMS code, sprint completed. Now new action. Create an issue for the same project. Issue type may be story, right? If you want to specify any sort of value, for example, so some value we have specified, whatever the value. So automatically yeah, we can do the automation, right? So automation has been turned on, right? So we automation process. So this automation process will make you to use it by not using the manual process, because throughout the project we are taking care of lot many things. So whenever we are working on lot many things, we know it is not possible for us to do each and every activity manually, and that is not viable, and that is not the way we do also. So what we can do, we have an option where we can automate some rules. Means you are framing some rules and we are automating some rules. So based on the rules and all that, whatever the activity we have completed, automatically based on this rule, automatically if that, for example, sprint or whatever it is, automatically that will be closed off, right? So that you do not do anything as manual as we see in the beginning. So this is what generally automation is. So this automation you can do it for anything, right? That too in automation again, it is again varying from project to project, for example. Okay, so project to project it will be varying here. I'm going to the written list here, right? So you can project to project it will be varied. You can see here there is a project tool for hospital management system which was created here, and of course I have not enabled it. If I am enabling, it is different, but I have not enabled, hence you can see like this. Next, global rules means project rules are confined only to the project. Whereas in terms of the global rules and all that, these global rules, wherein you need to have a connect to the global administrator servers, all that connect is required. So of course that we don't have the provision here, and in regular trial models and all we don't have provision. At the same time, that is not even required for the real-time projects also, unless until they are working for global accounts and all that. That time global rules and all everything they have to frame, that too with the consent of the team members other side. So you guys have to decide everything based on the requirement and as well as the interest what you have and all. Based on the rules can be defined, because global rules cannot be defined by the one-sided, because we cannot create global rules as one-sided, because that is with the consent of other people who are involving in the application on the existing ones. So based on that, that rules and all everything has to be created. Otherwise, what we can do is with that we can confine only to the project rule. That itself is sufficient in terms of the rules is concerned. Now you can see the log, right? You can see the log items, whatever the log items we have done so far, right? All these log items can be seen here. At the same time, this is all for the library, because whatever the libraries and all everything, these libraries can be used as well. For example, there is a library I'm using it as when all stories are completed, then close the epic. Right? This is what I have selected. Okay, when this is the rule, right? Rule is this. Rule is this, that when all the user stories are completed, close the epic. For what it is for the hospital management system, we have made a rule. So this is what we are turning it on. So whenever we are turning it on, automatically this is pending. Yeah, you can see here, right? So wherein we can, this rule has been created here, that whatever the story is completed, automatically that epic will be closed here. So that can be done. Next, in terms of the notifications. Notifications means if you want to provide any sort of notifications in reference to the application or project itself is concerned, so we can add some notifications whichever we require. Means for that you need to select the items and all. First of all, of course, if I select the notification, automatically it will come. So here we have to select the notifications and all. What are the notifications we required and all, so that those issues will be commonly deleted here. So normally I'm not doing it, because automatically those notifications will be, we get a notification and there is a possibility of deletion as well. Next, features. Features means here these features are there. For example, we are working on Jira. What are the features we want? You can use it. We are using roadmap here. We are using backlog. Of course, we are not using board. We are using reports for burn down charts, all that. We are not using any issue navigators. We are using sprints. Estimations we are using here. Even code configuration also, because if any developer has written the code, where we have to store? Either we have to store to the Bitbucket or GitHub. But make sure you must be connecting to Bitbucket or GitHub properly. Then only the code will be stored there, and followed by the testing and all, everything will be taken care of later on. After the development, next is release. Of course, release also we have did, but there are different release management tools which company uses, depends on their requirement. But as far as Atlassian itself is concerned, they have a tool called Bamboo for release management. That is absolutely the team choice to do that. Next here is the deployment. Of course, we have not enabled the deployment because there is no usage for us about the deployment also, right? No deployment on calls, nothing. Project pages, yes, because collaboration for Confluence and all collaboration ke liye, like we have we require projects pages and all, everything can be configured here, right? Because collaboration, Confluence is used for the collaboration. Means if you want to write down the features of the product, or whatever the meeting you have conducted, if you want to write down the meeting notes, all this can be done here. So that can be done. So using Confluence and all, what we can do is that we can write down the product features, what are the meeting notes we have conducted every day. At the same time, whatever the retrospection we have done so far, what decisions we have taken on the retrospection, all this can be written on the features. This is what generally features is all about. So followed by features, the next is about connections. Connections means what are the connections required for the project, that connections can be done. Either these connections may be relating to the documentation, or it is for the adding repository, for building the code, all that. Whereas for operations, right? Plan, build, and operations. Planning and all for project planning, building and all for coding, all that. Operations and all, everything for the deployment perspective. So connections can be done. That depends on, again, depends on the team requirement. For example, when we are using DevOps environment, right? Operations and all, everything, here you are using DevOps environment. Where in DevOps environment, what you are doing, you are adding both your development team and operations team into this. This is where DevOps environment comes into picture. So this is where operations and all, everything will also be used here. Next, followed by connections, the next we call it as apps. Means what are the applications do we have? Any applications we have and all, everything. So those apps can be used here. Means there are app fields. If you want to discover the apps and all, you can see, because it's a cloud application. There are a lot of apps which will be there on the market of Atlassian, because Atlassian company will market different products out there. Whoever is having interest based upon the company requirement, they can use those apps. It's not something mandatory all the time. Right? For example, free for all teams. If you want to use only free apps and all that, so those can be seen, not the beta versions. Any free apps, if you want, you can see the free apps here. At the same time, if you want any sort of beta version apps, that also can be used. So it depends again. Of course, that is not required because normally we use majorly for few reasons. One is for integration purpose, for DevOps team to do it, for Bamboo, all that for release management, conferences and all, everything for the document collaboration. So these are the major ones we use. Remaining things are not required much because, of course, this is all about end of the day, it is all an enterprise, right? It's a business. So they release a lot of apps in this. For example, timesheet tracking of Jira, right? So this is also an app. Whoever wants, they can use this timesheet tracking for Jira, all that. So otherwise, they don't use it normally. That is their depends on their requirements and all everything. It will be varying from one another. So it will not be the same for all the people. So, for example, if you want to have something relating to monitoring purpose, project monitoring purpose, we want. If you want, if you have any apps, you can see here. Of course, we don't have any apps here for that, hence it was not showing anything as such. For example, time tracking. Right? For example, time tracking. If you have anything, you can see. Of course, because it's a cloud application. If anything was enabled, if anything was there, they can give it. Even for documentation also, they don't have anything as such as separate. Of course, we have documentation Confluence is there, right? So that can be used there. Not a problem. So these are the ones which normally we use as far as the settings itself is concerned. So this is entirely depends on the project to project. Right? At the same time, Slack integration. Slack integration is not required for all the levels. Because anyway, to do the progress of works and all, everything we have this burn up charts, all that we are creating. So we don't require an additional tool called Slack or something as separate. If anybody want, because they have to purchase it, not because these are the cloud softwares which can be used based on the pay-per-use kind of stuff. Whatever the requirements they want, they can use it. Pay-per-use kind of stuff they can use and they can work accordingly. So this is how generally the settings has to be done by the Jira administrator. Depends on the requirement of the project what we are using here. Now, in reference to the Confluence and all, as I told you, project pages here, because Confluence is a tool which is being used here, right? So you have to connect to the Confluence here. So when you are connecting to the Confluence, it is asking you what is that you want to do and all. Now, for example, product requirements, right? I'm just connecting. If I want, I can write down the product requirements here as separate. For any of the project, we can, means whatever the project, like hospital management system, those product requirements can be written. Because this is not for the usage of Word document, right? We don't use any kind of Word document as separate. Confluence is the one which can be used even if you want to write down the meeting notes. Every day we have conducted a meeting, okay? So when we have conducted, how many people have attended, what points we have discussed, what we have taken a decision, right? What are the action plan or action steps we want to take? If you want to update everything, here you have an option here where we can add all these. For example, 25th March today, these are the list of participants we have to mention here, followed by the goals for the today meeting I'm talking about. And what are the different discussion topics do we have and all everything that can be added here. Next, action items. What are the action items we have taken? Any decisions we have taken or not? So all this can be added, and if you are publishing, what will happen is that these meeting notes can be seen to the people who are existing in the project. Whoever are the members of the project, everybody can see in the meeting notes. If someone is absent for one day, so that they can go back and they can see whatever we have discussed so far on the particular day, and what are the action items and how far we have completed so far. Is there anything is balanced? So that we'll be knowing about ourselves well in advance. At the same time, retrospection means what are the retrospection we have made, sprint retrospection. Once after completion of the sprint, what are the retrospection we do? This retrospection we can see here. Means whatever is it according to the goal, what we have decided is, are we satisfied with the existing ones or not? Or else do we require anything to do in this as separate? So those updations can also be made in this, those updations and all, everything can be made in this retrospection page. Because of course I have connected to Confluence, hence you can see all the pages, but make sure you need to connect to the Confluence. The same way, if you want, you can connect to other tab, other applications also. Depends on the need, depends on the company need and all, it will be varied. It will not be the same for everyone. So it will be varying from one person to another. It will not be the same for everyone. So that is completely of team's choice to do it. So this is how generally the whole work we do in reference to the Jira tool is concerned. Being a Scrum Master, you will be following all that, right? So being a Scrum Master, this is what generally the work we do. Depends on the project to project, it will be varied. Is it clear, Suruchi?
Yeah.
Right. This is all about, because this is the practical way. Because whatever I have explained in the beginning is Scrum Master is about the whole thing. Because of course we require both the things. We require theory followed by practical. Theory I have explained normally using presentations, all that. That's how generally the way of doing things. After that, we need to have some practical exposure. Hence, I have opened the Jira tool and I've explained the same thing to you on Jira. So if not Jira, maybe some other people uses some other tools. We have Azure DevOps. Some people will go for Rally. Depends on team to team. It will be varied. It will not be the same for everyone. It depends on the team to team. It depends on the company to company. What tools they are choosing will be of their choice. It will not be the standard one for everyone, right? Some people will follow one, some people follow no. So that's purely depends on their requirement. This will be changed from time to time. This is all about the Scrum Master one. Anything you'd like to ask apart?
No.
Okay, so this is all about. So if you have any query, you please give an email to me. So anytime, so that I'll be answering your questions. No problem. If you want anything in future.
Okay.
Clear, Suruchi?
Yeah.
Okay then.
So
So the session was closed. Sorry.
So there will be no session
There
from
will be no session from
Yes, there will be no session because burndown charts, and velocity we have discussed. After that, I've shown you about this integration part, all that. Being an admin, if anybody is doing the admin activity, what is that they want to do? Especially majorly rules, all that.
No.
So officially it will be ended for today. Any queries, they do email me so that I will answer your questions.
Okay.
Right, Suruchi?
Yeah.
Okay then. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
And all the best for your future endeavors. Thank you.
Thanks, Raj.
Thank you.